I'm not gonna stop fighting until every designer and every fur farm is shut down. This sign has 0 crosses, X's on it. And now, look at this. We have Canada Goose! We have Montclair! Yves Saint Laurent! Miu Miu, Prada! Dolce Gabbana! D-Square and Karl Lagerfeld! They've all gone for free. Now we have the next contender, Louis Vuitton. And we're gonna take down that giant, just like I said last year. We're gonna go down there to Soho and give them a spanking of their life again! The truck is also gonna be in front of Louis Vuitton to vilify them for the animal killers that they are. Let's just march together and let's scream our lungs out and make sure that everybody in New York City hears us!
This right here give you hope, man. Being around so many like minds like this will give you hope. In a world where you feel hopeless, you feel helpless, lost, angry. Because animal exploitation, it's everywhere. We see it, we hear it at the grocery store. You see people wearing individuals. Someone walks past you, you smell their fragrance. Was someone tested on and now dead for that? And right here in NYC, we see those babies pulling those carriages because New York City Council is sitting in silence while horses are being used like a household appliance. Being treated like a vehicle, you're all in compliance to the oppression that they're in. Use your head like a stylist. Rest in peace, writer, Blackjack. But we cannot let that discourage us activists. There are almost 8 billion people in this world. Almost 8 billion people exploit animals. It is going to take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get these babies to their liberation. That anger you feel, that pain, use it. That fire, it being lit inside you, exude it to the world. You never know what you can do. And the people that need us are the activists who come after us. We're laying down that foundation, planting those seeds for them, because when we're gone, they're going to carry the torches. And there are support systems out there. Reach out. I make a support post every single Saturday to give activists an uplift. You are not alone in this. So keep the animals as your focus. Never stop fighting. So this song is called Entertain Yourself. I wrote this for Disgusting Zoo and Aquarium Awareness Month. Hopefully we can get that eradicated. But I want to dedicate this to Toki. She has been a driver to my activism over the last year, and losing her was soul crushing. I mean, all the losses, they all suck, but for her, it was real deep for me. So I want to dedicate this to her. And if she uplifted you, if she motivated you, even if you didn't know her, let's get loud for her. So when you hear Entertain Yourself, let's all join in that together. You'll know when to come in. DJ, you know what to do. No more cages, no more tanks. They're not here for you no matter what you think. Come on, you know better than that. Entice, so nice. Entertain yourself. No one's here to be a show for you. Those prison walls are slow to move. Their mind is dark, look when you blow the fuse. Entertain yourself. End of the day, you get to go home. Their show never ends, they're all alone. Their rights are skipped like you throwing stones. Entertain yourself. What's the price tag to make you perform and put you where you don't belong? Enslave you and put you in the song. Entertain yourself. It's not their home, leave them alone and entertain yourself. They say it's education or conservation. With a price tag on your head, then it's exploitation. They're not trying to show their true colors like it's animation. Got a lot to lose, gotta hide the abuse, you're the one that pays them. How you doing tricks for them and then they call it saving? They're not in their natural light cause you got them caged in. Now they're silent, now they're violent. They rip your mouth, you wanna hear the crying. That's what happens when you confine them. Animal abuse is your assignment. In the state of New York, I shouldn't see a lion. Cage bars shouldn't be for climbing. Marine life in the ocean where they should be diving. Not through hoops and now they're whining. You wanna do right by them, then do what I say just like my name is Simon. Entertain yourself. No one's here to be a show for you. Those prison walls are slow to move. Their mind is dark, look when you blow the fuse. Entertain yourself. What's the price? End of the day, you get to go home. Their show never ends, they're all alone. Their rights are skipped like you throwing stones. Entertain yourself. What's the price tag to make you perform and put you where you don't belong? Enslave you and put you in a song. Entertain yourself. Do you still think that they're in this because they care for their interests? Do they have names or just a blurb outside of the tanks and cages? Are you waiting for them to perform, doing tricks on stages? They did that with human slaves, and now you follow those pages. Enslavement and animal abuse is how you spend your wages. Did you stop inside the food court and see whose corpse you're paying to be tortured and chopped up? But don't worry, they saved them. Only place that has their back and where animals don't turn to snacks is a sanctuary. There's no abuse to track. They rescue them, they protect them, and they don't expect anything back. They give them real care. Go visit one, it'll be a vegan starter. Entertain yourself. No one's here to be a show for you. Those prison walls are slow to move. Their mind is dark up when you blow the fuse. Entertain yourself. End of the day, you get to go home. Their show never ends, they're all alone. Their rights are skipped like you throwing stones. Entertain yourself. What's the price tag to make you perform and put you where you don't belong? Enslave you and put you in the song. Entertain yourself. Do it all for yourself. Find fun for yourself. It's not their home. Leave them alone and entertain yourself. Rest in peace, Toki, Kiska, all animals of this world. We are so sorry that this world continues to fail each and every one of you. You know who's not going to fail you? You're looking at them.
What a great crowd. Thank you all so much for showing up for this. PETA always does the best things. What the hell are we doing to this planet? I mean, here we are in 2023. Half the world is on fire. The other half is underwater, people drowning. The aquifers are drying up. The desert is increasing. We are in wretched shape because we are not taking responsibility for what we do. And I'm including everybody, even us, even me, because it's in our culture. And it's very, very difficult to extricate ourselves. We can show up, we can protest, but still, how many here are, and bless your hearts if you are, vegans? Yeah, that's great. Now, I have a feeling if you ask the people who were passing by, you'd get just the opposite response. That's because they don't make the connection between veganism, what you eat, and what you get out of what you eat, which is the mess that we're in. We're here to implore Adidas to stop killing kangaroos to make running shoes. I worked in Australia, South Australia, and when you drive through that part of Australia, which is mostly desert, there are literally 1 or 2 kangaroos by the side of the road for hundreds of miles. Why? They don't throw themselves in front of the cars or the trucks. They come because people throw their garbage out with their sandwiches and whatever, and the animals come to eat it. Now, to the Australians, to many Australians, it really doesn't matter much because they consider the kangaroo a pest, which is really interesting because that's how it starts. When you have speciesism and you put yourself as a species above other species, above the interests of this planet, which has interests, which has a destiny, when you start doing that, you tend to diminish the person that you're oppressing. So they call the kangaroos pests. We call the people at the southern border pests or criminals. We fight wars because somebody has a different point of view. The problem is in our culture. Our culture has been inculcated since it began with this idea that we are separate from each other, that really power resides with the leaders, the powerful, and that we simply have to follow. Now, in this day and age, because of the communication available to us, we are beginning to understand, no, the power resides with us. It's what we do, but more importantly, who we are, guardians of this earth, guardians of the creatures on the earth. And out of that comes the doing what we're doing here today, doing what many are doing all over the world, and then having those things that have come out of those doings, which is a more perfect world, which serves all of us and doesn't exclude people because we consider them pests or useless or superfluous. I watch a lot of websites and I listen to Democracy Now! There are always these incredible activists on there, intellectuals, talking about a problem that exists in this country and what we can do to solve it. And I always hear the solutions that they offer, and it always involves, well, we have to protest, we have to do civil disobedience. God bless the people who do civil disobedience, because that is incredible action. The wonderful woman who climbed to the top of the tower, and it was in Minnesota, to protect the water. That's what needs to be done. But in order to do that, most of the people out here, have to change their minds. We need a paradigm shift. That means looking into your soul and finding out who you are and what you want for this world and what you want for everybody else in this world and what you want for your children. As the Indians say, for the next 7 generations, take responsibility for your actions. We have to take responsibility for every action that we do, because where we're standing is very precarious. If we do not come to some solution, and the solution can only come from having a clear idea of who you are and what you want, and then putting that intention into action. I know all of you have heard this before. I've heard this before. We have to do more. We have to do it quickly. We have to be courageous. We have to confront authority. We have to resist. We have to be examples in our life at every moment. We have to pass on the knowledge of what it is to be a vegan and to love life and to love the creatures of this earth and this planet. And then we have to transfer that to people who don't agree. So I thought it was really interesting that people that I disagree with got on a stage, the vice presidential debate, and when asked whether they thought human beings were responsible for climate change, raise your hands. Nobody raised their hands. They don't see their responsibility. We see our responsibility, which is why we're here. We have to talk to those people. We have to talk from a position of power. We have to find solutions that are effective. And when we do that, we will win. Power to the people. God bless.
Welcome to the Animal Liberation March 2023. Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to put boots on the ground in defense of animals. Today, we celebrate a shared commitment to a cause that transcends culture, language, and borders, animal rights. And we are here because we realize that with the staggering number of animals exploited yearly, even just one animal's life and well-being matters. 88,000 animals have been killed on land since I began speaking to you, but even just one animal matters. My name is Etyce So Nyce. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm a professional metal singer and I perform across the globe hundreds of shows per year with my band Arciello. Thank you. There are not many women in metal, so I am one of the few, and as a result, I experience the music industry in an exceptionally nuanced way. I am face to face with thousands of new people every day while I'm on tour, so even though my job is to entertain, my work has me constantly dissecting societal norms, analyzing the ebb and flow of interpersonal relationships, and examining the human psyche. So I want to share with you a few things I've noticed. First off, how many of you are vegan? That is beautiful. As vegans, we are sworn witnesses to some of the worst atrocities humankind can commit, and it can be overwhelming. So today is the day to let all of that out. I hope it will be as cathartic for you as it is important for animals. I am what would now be referred to as an OG vegan, and although I regularly get told to shut up about it, I have never and will never be quiet about animal rights. I was lucky enough to be raised in a vegetarian household. Thank you, Mom. And so I was never forced to eat meat, and I've now been vegan for almost 25 years. Much like the music industry, the food industry is wrought with corruption, and it's hyper-dependent on consumer interests. Both can feel hopeless sometimes. 350,000 animals have been killed since I began speaking. Nevertheless, it's inspiring to see how far we've come as the vegan movement gains momentum. Each of us contributes to a ripple effect that extends far beyond our inner circles, as evidenced every time a company drops fur, stops testing on animals, or creates a plant-based alternative. Behavioral scientists at Rethink Priorities just conducted a study on what influences people to go vegan. The most effective influence? Animal interaction. Pets, non-pets, farmed animals, hanging out with animals is the main reason people go vegan. So people are already vegan in their beliefs. If your instinct is to help animals, you're normal. So why is it that when we honor that instinct with our food and fashion choices, we are considered not normal? I'd also like to highlight the other highest ranked form of activism, personal conversation. It's working. Don't stop. Global dairy consumption is trending downward, but there are also some troubling recent statistics. A Gallup poll showed that the number of vegans in the USA has dropped by 2% over the past 5 years. By 2050, the UNFAO predicts that the global consumption of animal products will be at 166% of what it was a decade ago. Why? Is the trendiness of oat milk responsible for a downturn in dairy demand? Or is the cause more along the lines of the prevalence of lactose intolerance? Are viral YouTubers dishing out dangerous dietary advice responsible for proliferating the carnivore diet? Or is meat consumption increasing because beef is still in bed with the government? The US government does give $38 billion taxpayer dollars to meat and dairy every year, but only 17 million, that's 0.04%, to fruits and veggies. I know. That's very frustrating. Meat is a very problematic, dangerous, unregulated luxury item. 700,000 animals have been killed for it since I began speaking to you. The NIH suggests a multifactorial cause, that global meat consumption is influenced by growing prosperity and population, but also disease outbreaks, natural disasters, and shifting consumer interests. So why am I saying all of this to you, to a group of vegans? You already know all the reasons for veganism, all the arguments against it that we've been effectively countering for decades. Look, I have a unique perspective of someone who has been physically seeking out vegan communities in 5 continents since the 90s. I have a fantastic fan base spanning many cultures and age groups, and I'm extremely thankful for that. But they follow my work because they enjoy my music, not necessarily because they're interested in veganism. So as a result, I've become really tuned in to how people react to veganism in different ways. People can be extremely
extremely defensive about food. It's in our nature. We grow deeply attached to and associate our food rituals with family, home, health, socializing, pleasure. As long as consumers dictate industry, consumers deserve to be informed and armed with the truth about their purchases. So we have to stay united in this cause. I've been seeing a lot of infighting recently, but we're all on the same team. What I really want is whatever is going to save the most amount of animals the fastest. There is no right way or wrong way to defend animals when 875,000 have been killed on land since I began speaking to you. To those of you who are not yet vegan, we extend a warm invitation to you. Our strength lies in our proficiency in building bridges rather than walls. We bring a diverse set of skills and excel in various career paths, and that enables us to tackle animal abuse from all angles. There are moments of exhaustion, of questioning whether our efforts are making a difference, but we are part of a marathon, not a sprint. And today we can all connect with like-minded people and celebrate small victories and recharge. So for everything you bring to this movement, I thank you, the planet thanks you, and the animals thank you. And since I began speaking, each of you are responsible for saving 990 gallons of water, 27 square feet of forest, 18 pounds of CO2, and 1 animal life. Now let's all let New York know that animals do have a voice, and it is loud!
Before I begin, I want to acknowledge the Lenape people whose violently stolen land we stand on. I want to highlight the reality of colonization as a key driver behind the depths of speciesism that our fellow animals fall victim to and struggle through every day. I want to say thank you for having me here today. I'm so grateful to speak to you all and to stand beside you all and all of my fellow animals. I speak a lot about our fellow animals because it is critical that we do not forget that we all are animals. Us humans, Homo sapiens, we are not so different from the magnificently diverse array of other animal species that we share this earth with. We are different. Remembering that we're animals is a powerful way to feel solidarity with those of other species and to break down the wall between us and them. We live in a society full of us and them dichotomies, but we're equal. Those of racism, sexism, classism, and speciesism. All of these are forms of oppression. All of these forms of oppression, the discrimination that comes from them, are at their core the same. A denied right to safety, to freedom, to life as an individual, not existence as a commodity. So let's talk about it from a fashion perspective. This is a short part of my new book, Total Ethics Fashion. We've been culturally conditioned to view some species as more worthy of moral consideration, similarly to the way in which we're conditioned to feel the same way about some genders, some races. It's not a coincidence that most of the women who are exploited to make our clothes are people of color. The decision to offer one gender, race, or species more safety than another is totally arbitrary, but it is the way our fashion system is. It is the way our entire system is. Exploitation exported to poorer, darker-skinned nations, women bearing the brunt of fashion's human pain, and of course, animals so abstracted through their exploitation that we don't really see them at all. As a society, we more easily justify wearing the skins of certain animals because we've inherited a system designed to allow us to do so. This is true through language. It's why fashion's advertisements so effectively greenwash and ethics wash profitable harm and violence. Language allows for cognitive dissonance and for distance. Distance from things like who made our clothes, from the reality of leather as skin, and from how we actually believe others should be treated on this planet. If we didn't allow for this distance, as a general human population, we would not all still be buying and selling clothes that we would hate to see produced. This distance is why so many of us humans pull up calfskin boots and we don't think about who bathed the skin in chromium, who held the knife, or what that person saw when that skin was pulled off the hot, wet carcass of a young calf who was sawn open after. We're encouraged to think of the glossy advertisements of the pretty model wearing those leather shoes. And it is by design that so many people cannot even begin to imagine what that calf's death looked like, what it smelled like, what it sounded like. Cows can sense distress through smell, and they do so in slaughterhouses full of nervous urine, dripping red knives, and wide-eyed, panicked animals. In slaughterhouses, they fight to live, they maintain their freedom, and they fight for it just as we would if we were in their place. But the fashion industry doesn't like to talk about this. It doesn't like to acknowledge any of this as an issue to overcome, and it certainly doesn't want to acknowledge its responsibility in it. And that's where we come in, all of us. Our role as activists is to eliminate this distance and dissonance. It is to highlight the suffering and oppression of our fellow animals that we know to be an unignorable injustice. To encourage others to join us and build a more just world. To push when we need to push. To envision what a global community could be like if we really did put all life, all species, and the planet we share before profit and further production. So today, and every day, let us hold our fellow animals in our hearts. Let us not forget the mink in the fur industry cage, the crocodile in yet another cage for supposedly luxurious skin sales, the kangaroo from the place I live, shot down in their natural habitat for football boots. They are the victims of the largest land-dwelling wildlife slaughter on this earth. The calf taken from his mother only to become a bag. The young lamb whose tail is cut off, her wool worn by someone else while she shivers. The duck who is packed tightly in a factory farm, their feathers soon to fill someone's coat. When we fight for them, we fight for us all. The life and well-being of us people, our fellow animals and the planet is inextricably linked. It cannot be disconnected. We are all a part of nature. We cannot protect some of us and not all of us. We cannot hurt some of us and not expect for the rest of us to also be hurt, because we are all animals and we all deserve autonomy, we all deserve our freedom, and we all deserve our lives. Thank you.
We are going to demand that the Adidas stop paying commercial hunters to chase down terrified kangaroos in the dark of night and slaughtering them and their babies to steal their skin to make soccer cleats. We are here in solidarity today with the Center for a Humane Economy, which is running the global campaign, Kangaroos Are Not Shoes. We are here in solidarity with the Animal Justice Party in Australia, which is working in the halls of Parliament to protect those kangaroos and all other animals in Australia who are being exploited and killed. And we are here protesting with animal rights activists in Australia, Europe, Adidas is based in Germany, and here in the United States, who are demanding that Adidas join Nike and Puma in making the switch to cruelty-free alternatives. If Nike and Puma can do it, Adidas can do it. I want to do two quick chants. I'm going to say kangaroos are not shoes, and you're going to say boycott Adidas. Pump your fist in the air. I want Adidas to see this video. Kangaroos are not shoes. Boycott Adidas! I'm going to say massacres we don't condone, and you're going to say leave the kangaroos alone. Massacres we don't condone. Leave the kangaroos alone! And I'll leave you with this. On Thursday, 3 animal rights activists in California who had the gall to try to help sick and dying animals are going to court for their crime of compassion. They're activists with Direct Action Everywhere, Wayne Shung and Cassie King and Priya Swani. They are going to court to demand a right to rescue animals from these houses of terror. So thank you to DXC. Thank you for being here.
A few years ago, I attended my very first animal rights march right here in New York City. And when we unrolled the Horseracing Kills Horses banner, people came out of nowhere to take pictures and video. It was crazy. But then I realized what was happening. The horses used and abused and killed for entertainment and gambling. Horses who over 150 years suffered in silence and died unnoticed. Horses that I was dedicating my vegan life to saving now had a place in the animal rights world and at this important event. The so-called racehorse was showcased one day a year on national television, with fancy hats and mint juleps and parties across the country. But the reality for those horses was hidden far too long. Horses in the racing industry are pushed beyond their limits from the tender age of 18 months, and they are raced at 2 years old. We see necropsies, horses 4, 3, and even 2 years old dying with chronic conditions like osteoarthritis and degenerative joint disease. They are confined, isolated, and alone in tiny 12 by 12 stalls for over 23 hours a day. And they are sold over over and over again, changing hands from trainers to barns to tracks and across state lines, adding more stress to an already stressful existence. And every moment of their lives is controlled with cribbing collars, lip chains, tongue ties, eye blinders, mouth bits, and whips. And these horses are not even afforded protections from animal rights statute, meaning an owner or trainer can run their horse into the ground, even to death, with virtual impunity. At Horse Racing Lawns, we have documented almost 10,000 kills since 2014. And we estimate that 2,000 horses die every year at U.S. tracks. That's about 6 dead horses a day for gambling and entertainment. This death is often described as humane euthanasia, but it's not tranquil and it's not peaceful. It's cardiovascular collapse, pulmonary hemorrhage, blunt force head trauma, broken necks, severed spines, shattered legs, and death also comes back in the stalls with things like colic, laminitis, and respiratory infections. Or sometimes the necropsy simply reads, found dead in the morning. And all of this, even if we don't watch, attend, or bet, our tax dollars prop up this industry to keep it going. Here in New York State, the horse racing industry receives $230 million a year in taxpayer subsidies. But because of you, we are making progress. We have protests across the country. And right now there is a bill in New York State to redirect the horse racing subsidies to where it belongs, to education and community groups. And also right now on Governor Hochul's desk, there is a bill that will stop the transport of horses to slaughter in New York State. So I preach to the choir today to educate and invigorate, to let the horses' voices be heard today, along with all the other animals, the cows, chickens, pigs, dogs, the foxes, all of the animals exploited for human gain as we march to spread the word across New York City and across the world. It all works together. As a vegan for 14 years and an activist for the same amount of time, I realized that our horse racing protest brought the awareness of one species to the hearts and mind of people, but it also brought that ultimate goal of veganism. When I looked around me, I realized that so many of these people who were angered by the death of horses, who came out of their comfort zone to stand and speak up for them, weren't vegan when they started, but they're vegan now. They made that connection that species to species, we are all the same, that no animal deserves to suffer for human gain, whether it be entertainment, clothing, research, or food. Sometimes it feels like we're fighting a war with those cruel and wealthy industries that fight us every step of the way. And we are. So we are waking up compassion and we are inspiring kindness. When we open our hearts, love pours out. And that's what we are doing here today. We are inspiring others and we're fueling this movement. So today, I hope we encourage more of our own to be active and join us in events like this. And I hope we inspire millions of people everywhere to open their hearts and go vegan for the animals.